it says, "And it came to pass that as he, Jesus, was praying in a certain place, when he ceased, one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray, as John the Baptist, also taught his disciples." Teach us how to pray. Now, we had said that prayer is communication, just like I speak with my wife every day and we talk with one another, speaking with God. Why would you have to teach us how to do that? Because when you're communing with somebody you can't see, we have to be taught to believe that there's somebody on the other end of the line. That's why you need faith. That's why you need the Holy Spirit. Because when you're born again, you know there's a God. And you believe that when you ask Him something or say something to Him, He hears you. He hears you. Now, Jesus is going to teach them. John taught his disciples how to pray, John the Baptist. And somebody might say, well, how did he know? You know, Jesus we can understand because Jesus is God. But what about John the Baptist? Well, you remember the story that when John was conceived in his mother's womb, his mother's name was Elizabeth. And she was a cousin of Mary, who bore Jesus the Christ. When Mary went to visit Elizabeth, and Elizabeth, I believe, was about 3 or 6 months pregnant, and Mary had just received the visitation from the angel, and the Holy Spirit had conceived in her the Christ child that we're going to celebrate his birth here in a few weeks. When Elizabeth heard the salutation of her cousin Mary, John the Baptist, who was in his mother's womb, he leapt. That's what the Word says. I can remember when I was going to Trentham Church of God, I just got saved recently, and I was going to Trentham Church of God, and Sister Smouse, some of you might remember Sister Smouse, she used to teach Sunday school. I went to Sunday school, and Pastor Spencer was there, and it was around Christmas time, and they said, she was reading the Sunday school lesson, and she said, what did John do in his mother's womb when he heard Mary's voice? And I said, he did a flip. And they laughed about that for 15 minutes. I didn't think it was that funny. But he did. Okay, I mean, he jumped the pew, man, because he had the Holy Spirit. John was filled with the Holy Spirit from his conception. That doesn't happen all the time. But John was a very special prophet of God. When you have the Holy Spirit and you get in the presence of God, you can't help but want to do a flip. Because the Holy Spirit, confers and communes with the Spirit of God, and you can't help but get. And sometimes when we're doing worship or we're praying or whatever, and something just grabs a hold of you, you hear something or say something, and you know it's the Holy Spirit striking a nerve. Sometimes a good nerve, sometimes not a good nerve. But you know when God's trying to speak because you have the Holy Spirit.